of IIA, Gyanendra Shekhawat Garu, Joint Honorary Secretaries, Architect Ashutosh Kumar Agarwal Garu, Architect Leena Kumar Garu, Architect Satish Mane Garu, and past President Architect Divya Kush Garu, Chapter Chairman, IIA Telangana, Architect Uday Shankar Doni Garu, Convener, IIA NatCon, Architect Sridhar Gopishetty Garu.
Light fills the world like nothing else. Lighting a lamp amounts to the awakening of the Atma Jyoti within oneself. The epitome of light, the Diya, is at the center of the stage today, and it's our request to all our respected dignitaries to light the lamp and begin this auspicious occasion. May I now request the distinguished dignitaries, Honorary Host Chairman Uday Shankar Doni Garu, Convener Mr. Architect Sridhar Gopishetty Garu.
We also would like to invite MLC Banu Prakash Garu onto the stage. Sir, please.
May I please request the esteemed dignitaries to take their seats. May I now please request the Chairman of IIA Telangana Host Chapter, Architect Uday Shankar Doni Garu, for the welcome address. Sir, please.
Thank you. It gives me immense pleasure in welcoming our chief guest, Shri K. Tarak Ramarao Garu, Honorable Minister for Municipal Administration, Urban Development, Industries and Commerce and Information Technology of Telangana. Hearty welcome to you, sir. I'd like to welcome our President, Indian Institute of Architects, all the office bearers on the dais, trustees of IIA, Architect Timmaya and Dilip Chandra Chatterjee, who are with us today, speakers and awardees at the NatCon, council members and chapter chairmen, fellow architects, and a special welcome to our own MLA architect Bhanu Prasad Garu, sponsors for the NatCon event, members of IGBC, CREDA, and all other organizations, and the media. It is my proud privilege to welcome all of you to Hyderabad for NatCon 2021. Over the years, this convention has truly evolved into a forum where the wisdom of the experienced and the exuberance of youth are equally regarded. This year, we hope to further build on this fascinating blend by providing an opportunity to reflect, introspect, ideate, and of course, rejuvenate with the best in the practice. We Indians love our festivals, and we hope you will join us all in celebrating this Utsav, a festival with enthusiasm and fervor. And maybe this year's once tomorrow too. With that hope, I welcome you all once again. Much like the weather, you will find the people here warm. But quite unlike the weather, you will find them friendly too. So do spare some time, if possible, to explore a unique city, charmingly old-fashioned, yet refreshingly poised for the future. A loud cheer to the magnificence of architecture and also to all of us fine people who create it. Thank you very much and welcome to you all.
Thank you for your warm welcome, sir. Journeys are more beautiful than destinations. It's our pleasure to take you all through the concept of our theme, ARC Utsav. May I request the convener, IIA NatCon 21, Architect Sridhar Gopishetty Garu, to represent the theme of this year's NatCon 21. Sir, please.
Good evening, sir. KTR Garu, and the honorable dignitaries on the dais. It's a great honor to have our Minister of Urban Development here with us. And on behalf of the architects of the country who are registered with IAA, we are about 25,000 architects across the country, professionally qualified and registered in IAA. So, on behalf of all of them, we took this opportunity to give rebirth to architecture in form of a festival post-COVID. So the National Committee felt which place could be better than Hyderabad, which is a fast-growing and most happening city in the world, in the country, to be hosting this event of NatCon immediately after post-COVID. So basically, sir, I humbly put it forward to you. Telangana Raising to Stars, TRS, is nothing but Telangana Raising to Stars. So this is the place where Hyderabad, it's becoming a universal urban destination with lot of activities. Like we already have 50 flyovers in Hyderabad, another adding 28 flyovers. We have the longest flyovers in the country, accumulating to 89 kilometers of flyover length within a city of 10 million population. So lot of decongestion, lot of development is happening in Hyderabad, especially the kind of buildings what we are getting. The architects play a pretty important role in the state of Hyderabad and Telangana. Then couple of, contextually, we invited top architects of the country, Professor Dr. Bimal Patel, who is the architect for our national secretariat and the parliament that's being redesigned by him, completely new central vistas. And we have Professor Mahesh Das, who's graduated from JNTU Hyderabad. He happens to be my classmate, and he's a world's pioneer in robotics and integration of robotic technology in building startups. So what else a better place could be rather than having Hyderabad to establish robotic architecture and robotics in construction technology. This is the one we wanted to put forward, sir. Then coming to 3D printing technologies, whatever technologies you might call it, might it be Microsoft or any of the technologies across the world, we wanted Hyderabad to develop as the nation's headquarters for building technologies integrated with robotics and advanced integration of all the facilities in here. Then one small request, sir, at this juncture where Hyderabad is becoming a huge urban destination, we wanted to have a kind of urban arts commission established in Hyderabad. So that could be Telangana Urban Arts Commission established in Hyderabad. That one would govern the build form, the skyline of Hyderabad, and have a proper regulations on the entire city. With this, I thank everybody for attending this event, and I thank our entire committee, the entire team that had been supporting us day and night, sir, on this particular. And one more first thing, the greatest thing what the Telangana state has introduced, the TSB pass. The first time we have introduced, and with this conference, the TSB pass concepts would spread into across the country, wherein people can file in their buildings directly from online and need not go to the MLCs another place. And properly, like the new master plan, considering the entire growth patterns, corridors, and all those things should be taken care in the future. And one more thing is, we had SRDP, first time introduced in the country, where we have the strategic road development plan, which has completely decongested the city. So, sir, under your vision and under the vision of our great Chief Minister, Sri KTR Garu, the city has taken 10-fold growth in last 8 years, and we have a 100-fold growth in the future. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for attending this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The presentation was inspiring and engaging. Looking forward to a successful ARC Utsav.
May I now request the President of IIA, Architect C.R. Raju Garu, on the dais to address the gathering. Sir, please.
Honorable Minister, respected Shri K.T. Ramarao Garu, Chairman of IA Telangana Chapter, Architect Uday Shankar Dhoni, Convener of this NatCon 21 Utsav, Architect Sridhar Gopisetti, my colleague office bearers of Telangana Chapter, our trustees who are present here, the past presidents of IIA, the council members, national council members of the Indian Institute of Architects, chapter chairman, and the entire family of architect students and their spouses who have come here in large numbers, and the sponsors for this IIA NatCon. A very good evening and welcome to this NatCon 2021. We all know architecture in this country has a long history and a rich legacy. The Indian Institute of Architects is the largest professional body and the only professional body having a presence throughout the country in 24 chapters and 54 centers and 17 sub-centers, with a membership of more than 25,000, and it has 105 years of history. And given this
the practice, the architectural practice, the Architects Act 1972, which was passed in Parliament in the year 1972. With this kind of legacy and history, our country is progressing very rapidly now. Today we are in Hyderabad, Telangana, where we are seeing an exponential growth, which is one of the very visible aspects of development. If you compare all the 4 southern states, I think Hyderabad is the most happening place, with a lot of development encouraged by the administration and the leadership. Urbanization is good, but I think we should also lay some stress and importance to our rural areas, the small towns, the small cities, how we are going to improve the living infrastructure in those areas. I think our urban development minister will definitely must have a roadmap for this kind of a thing, so that a holistic development throughout the state or throughout the country happens, and migration can be distributed or not concentrated in a few places. Today we see most of the urban areas are totally bursting at the seams, some of them. So there is a need for a relook at how the infrastructure is distributed across various areas and how we can safeguard our tradition and culture in the long run. Because our country is rich in its vernacular forms, in the artisans, in the traditional methods of building construction, and many such areas. So, though technology has given us a lot of strength now, how we are going to use that to advantage to be beneficial to the society at large is the task before the architects. And I think the next 2 days, this national convention, there are a number of speakers. We have a keynote speaker today, Dr. Bimal Patel, who is here, and we have 2 distinguished awardees, Architect Sirish Beri from Kolhapur, who is going to be awarded the IIA Babu Rao Gold Medal for Architectural Practice, and Professor KT Ravindran, who is going to be awarded the Gold Medal, the IIA Madhavachal Gold Medal for teaching in their own spheres. So we have a lot of content to be deliberated and discussed. And any convention is a platform for many people to come together, exchange ideas, and give a positive, bonding among the fraternity, because I always feel architects are goodwill ambassadors in the society, and there are many stalwarts who have laid the foundation for the architecture to flourish in this country. Apart from times immemorial, there have been many people who have contributed to the growth of this profession. So we pay a salute to all the stalwarts and the doyens of our fraternity who have brought this profession to this particular stage today, and appreciate and salute their efforts. And we have to carry on the legacy and leave footprints for the future generation to follow and cultivate and imbibe a good culture and tradition for the architecture of the future. So with these few thoughts, I would mention that this national convention is organized by Telangana chapter with a lot of effort, interest, and a lot of attention to detail. So please stay, relax, enjoy, and benefit from the 2 days of hospitality of Telangana, which is very, very warm, and let us all experience and live with memories to cherish for a long time to come. Thank you very much.
sir, for sharing your wonderful thoughts and ideas. All of your thoughts and ideas have enlightened the evening, much like the glow of the diya.
The Indian Institute of Architects has a tradition to recognize the contributions of fellow architects in the Indian industry and instituted in fond memory of architect Baburao Mahathre and architect Madhav Ashwal.
May we now request Joint Honorary Secretary, Architect Leena Kumar Garu, to read the citation.
Thank you. This is the citation for the IIA Baburao Mahathre Gold Medal being presented to architect Shirish Berry. Architect Shirish Rajaram Berry, born on 30th of November 1950, is an alumnus of SEPT Ahmedabad and a fellow member of the Indian Institute of Architects. His persona as an architect and his intense engagement with nature, solitude, meditation, philosophy, yoga, photography, arts, poetry, painting, films, gardening, farming and ecology, traveling, and above all, being a very sensitive human being, defies traditional definitions. His work truly reflects his values and concerns about the growing disconnect between humankind and nature. He probes the intangible and immeasurable multisensory dimensions of space. He believes that the issues of sustainability can only be addressed through right attitudes and goals born out of an inherent sense of unity and harmony with natural and man-made elements and forces. He has designed a number of prestigious and award-winning campuses for research, rehabilitation, healthcare, and education, besides a large number of other important buildings. He has received the J.K. Great Masters Award, Architecture Plus Design Award, Serra Awards, and Arcacia Gold Medals, to name a few. He has authored 5 books, which notably include Spaces Inspired by Nature and Wanderings and Ponderings. His works, interviews, talks, and articles are widely acclaimed and published in national and international journals, periodicals, and books. He has also very successfully mastered the art of expressing himself through poetry, paintings, and sketching. His clarity of thoughts on a range of subjects, and above all, to his attitude to life, backed by an in-depth knowledge and an evolved understanding, coupled with his command on language and an exceptional quality of oratory skills, makes him an almost permanent invitee to seminars and conferences at various national and international forums. In recognition and appreciation of his outstanding contribution to the field of architecture and allied fields, the Indian Institute of Architects takes great pride in presenting the IIA Baburao Mahathre Gold Medal to architect Shirish Rajaram Berry on this 14th day of May 2022 during the IIA National Convention 2021 being held at Hyderabad. Architect Shirish Berry, I request Architect Nilima to please accompany him to the stage.
Thank you, ma'am. May we now request Architect C.R. Raju Garu to present the gold medal and citation to the Architect Sitish Bedi Garu. Thank you, sir. May we now request Shri K.T. Ramarao Garu, Ministry of Municipal Administration and Urban Development of Telangana, to present the memento and shawl to Architect Sirish Bedi Garu. Thank you, sir. Congratulations, Architect Sirish Bedi Garu. May I request sir to please share his thoughts? Sir, please.
Dignitaries on the dais and friends, frankly speaking, I stand here today not just overwhelmed, but humbled by IIA office bearers' decision to bestow their highest Baburao Mhatre Gold Medal award on me. I'm truly grateful to them for this honor. The architecture that has evolved from my constant questioning of life and architecture tries to find a somewhat vulnerable expression in the meaningful interface between our physical outer space and our psychological inner space. It seeks joy, a sense of wonder, and a spatial beauty by befriending the simple, the mundane, and ordinary. I feel that this award seeks to recognize and honor some of my design values that I cherish rather than me as a person. This award seems to celebrate our sacred relationship and empathy with nature, and in an era of rampant natural exploitation. It honors my values of spatial equity, open accessibility, and inclusive interactive spaces in today's times of inequity and exclusive closed communities. This award tends to appreciate the need for shifting our emphasis from glossy, superficial wrappings to deeper inner content, from celebrity to sanctity. Through this award, our architecture fraternity recognizes the genuine green attitudes that create truly sustainable spaces, which in turn nurture the human spirit. Those attitudes of concern and caring, simplicity and honesty amidst this business of commercialized green ratings. While celebrating professional integrity and ethics, this award also recognizes the efforts made for increasing the architectural awareness in the people at large through books, films, design workshops, etc. To imbibe and implement all these values in our architecture requires tremendous teamwork. For this, I am very much grateful to my professional associates, consultants, and staff members who helped in bringing my ideas to the level of execution. To all my clients and their various staff who repose their faith in my work, all the contractors and the various agencies who executed my designs, and to all the engineers, supervisors, and skilled, unskilled workers at site who in very challenging site conditions helped in the materialization of my ideas. I'm also thankful to my friends, professional brothers and sisters who have been a part of my architectural journey, directly or indirectly. And finally, I'm grateful to my late parents for their sizable contribution to what I am today. To my wife Mansi and daughter Purna, and other family members for their constant support and encouragement. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Moving ahead to the next part of the ceremony is the Architect Madhav Ashwal Gold Medal.
May we now request Joint Honorary Secretary, Architect Ashutosh Kumar Agarwal Garu, to read the citation.
Thank you very much. It is indeed a privilege on behalf of IIA to introduce to the House a person who has devoted 4 decades of his life to education of architecture. To say it briefly, it is my privilege to introduce to you Professor K.T. Ramendran. He graduated in 1968 from AC College of Technology, Madras University, and immediately began a private practice at Madras, which he continued till 1972. Later on, he completed PG Diploma in Urban Design in 1975 and started working as urban designer till 1977 at DAZ Associates, Iran. He traveled in Europe and Africa for a year photographing vernacular architecture, and upon his return to India, he worked with an NGO, Unnayan, at Calcutta, now Kolkata. In 1980, he moved to Hyderabad, recommencing his private practice, during which he started his teaching career as visiting faculty at JNTU Hyderabad in 1981. From Hyderabad, he moved to join the School of Planning and Architecture, Delhi, as assistant professor, then as professor, and then he headed the Department of Urban Design, and he became Dean of Studies. His teaching career in SPA Delhi spanned 3 decades, from 1982 to 2012. He has been a highly respected teacher by his students and his colleagues. He had successfully combined practice and teaching and has actively contributed to education in several other ways too. He was founder president of Institute of Urban Designers, India, and was also the chairman of the Delhi Urban Art Commission. He was a founder trustee of Indian Heritage Cities Network Foundation. He was a member of the advisory board of United Nations Capital Master Plan, New York. He is chairman of Advisory Committee, Architecture Heritage Division, INTAC, member of Governing Council, INTAC. He began his teaching career 14 years after graduation, has about 4 decades of experience in teaching. He guided more than 400 thesis works from India, Europe, and USA. He conducted numerous national and international seminars and workshops. He has been a jury member in many schools in India and abroad. He has published extensively on architecture and urban design nationally and internationally. He has been a member of Board of Studies Governing Council in Urban Design Program in SPA Delhi, Department of Social Design, Ambedkar University, Delhi, HICC School of Built Environment, National Institute of Design, Vijayawada, Urban Design Program at SEPT, Ahmedabad, TVB School of Habitat Studies, Delhi, Goa School of Architecture, Goa, Anna University, Chennai, Sushant School of Art and Architecture, Gurgaon, Academic Advisory Committee of Vastu Shilp Foundation, Ahmedabad. He has been a member Governing Council, National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad. He is a member of Board of Studies, School of Architecture, Christ, deemed to be University, Bengaluru. Member of Area Advisory Board, MIT University, Noida. And throughout his career, he has been a brilliant academician and administrator. Today, in recognition and appreciation of his outstanding contribution to the field of architecture education, the Indian Institute of Architects takes great pride in presenting the IIA Madhav Ashwal Gold Medal to Professor K.T. Ramendran on this 14th day of May 2022 during the IIA National Convention 2021. Guys, give a big hand to Professor K.T. Ramendran. May I request Architect Jyoti to accompany him to the stage.
Thank you, sir. May we now request Architect C.R. Raju Garu to present the gold medal and the citation to Professor Architect K.T. Ravindran Garu. Thank you, sir. Now may I request Shri K.T. Ramarao Garu to present the memento and shawl to Professor K.T. Ravindran Garu, please. Thank you, sir. Congratulations, Professor Architect K.T. Ravindran Garu. And may I now request Sir to share his wonderful thoughts.
Honorable Minister, functionaries on this dais, and my friends who are in the audience, I am indeed very, very honored to receive this award. It's been quite a long time for me in the profession. I graduated 54 years back, and it's now today, with this award, I come a full circle. Because I began my first class, I walked into my first classroom, not far from here, in JNTU, exactly 40 years ago. And today to receive this award here means I've come a full circle. So I'm indeed doubly proud to have received it here in Hyderabad. Now, in fact, as Shutosh had already read out, I started teaching in JNTU only after 14 years of work. Work was not just sitting in the studio and producing buildings. Work was a lot of wandering, working with NGOs, working in different countries, working in 4 or 5 different cities. Every 3 years I would get an itch and I'll move out of the place, move to a new place, start a new kind of work. And it was during that course of work that I was approached by the head of department in JNTU to come and teach the subject of landscape architecture, for which I was not trained. So they couldn't find anyone to run the program at that time. This is 40 years ago. And they asked me, would you take this on for us? So in my characteristic style, I saw a challenge and I just entered that space and realized that I'm really not equipped to take classes in landscape architecture, for which I wasn't trained at all. So I made a special trip to Delhi, went to the landscape architecture department, collected bibliography, notes, and all the academic material. And to take a 2-hour class in JNTU, I used to prepare for 4 hours at home. I used to get up 4 o'clock in the morning and start reading so that I can at least have 2 hours of material in the classroom. So it was quite a new experience for me. And it's then that I realized that my real calling is education. Because I've always been interested in books. I've always been a bookworm when I was in school and college. But I never realized that there is this kind of an urge to teach will enter me at all. Because for 14 years I was just on the road, wandering around, backpacking in places, having a hard life, working in NGOs, working in slums, making demonstrations against injustice in urban development. I was part of lots of things before that. But that's precisely what has enriched my efforts in education, is the fact that one has undergone that kind of hard training in the field, not simply in making good buildings, but also in dealing with the issues of urban development, dealing with issues of people, society, and that of architecture and planning. So it was that richness of experience which actually informed the way I would approach education. Now, as far as education is concerned, I believe that education is a form of communication. It's like any other form of communication. We need to exchange knowledge and ideas between people, and that's pure communication. And in that communication, the most important thing I think that we should remember is that if there is no mutual respect between the teacher and the student, mutual respect, the teacher must respect his student, the student must respect the teacher must earn that respect, not by virtue of being in a position of power to give grades or punish the student or whatever. In fact, it is that mutual respect that nurtures any relationship, leave alone between a teacher and a student, between a husband and wife, between father and children, between any kind of friends. It is mutual respect that is the binding glue in a relationship. And that is no different in education. In fact, over a period of time when you start teaching, you realize that there is nothing called a teacher and a student. Everybody is a student, including the teacher is a student. And for teachers, privileged because I was privileged because for 40 years I could keep learning as a student. I don't think there's anyone who went to university for 40 years, but a teacher has that opportunity to do so. So it was a very intense relationship of exchange, which is based on mutual respect, which actually form the platform for the learning environment. This is the first important thing that I learned. Second important thing that I learned is that education in today's terms is not a single person's effort. The subjects are complex, architecture is very complex, urban design is even more complex, city planning is complex. Everything about the city is perhaps the most difficult artifact which human being has ever produced, is the city. I mean, if you look at it as an installation, as a work of art, it's a really complex mechanism that brings the city together. And when you are trying to exchange knowledge in that field, it will be foolish for one to think that it's one's own credit that I am able to communicate very well to my students. Equally important is the support that comes from your colleagues, faculty colleagues. So to have a sustained group of people like we had in the urban design program in SPA, who remained in the department for 30, 40 years continuously as a group, it is that co-production of knowledge with this group of people which actually enriched the kind of education that one was part of. And let us also not forget that even more important to the faculty is a motivated student. Without a motivated student, there is no teacher. There is only someone who is coming and showing off his knowledge, which no one receives. Yeah? So it's the motivation in the student, and it's the quality of the student who comes out, the performance that they put forward in their profession. That is what makes a teacher. In fact, a teacher is awarded in the architecture studio or in the urban design studio. A teacher gets an award every review. Every time you have a good review, that is your reward. And every time you have your student performing very well in the field, that is your review. that's your reward. So it is a continuous process in which we are all, you can say, we are in a way, it's an immersive learning experience in which the teacher and the student are part, with bearing equal responsibility. Let us also not forget that there is an institution which provides us the platform for this communication. That's the institution for which we work. For instance, if you look at SPA, I can say today with great gratitude that SPA gave you the space to grow. SPA gave the faculty, didn't constrain the faculty, didn't tell you what you should do and what you should not do. It provided you the space to grow. And without the support of an institution of that kind of an open nature, you cannot really develop a proper educational environment. So it is not just an individual's effort that brings in good education. It's a co-production of a learning environment by the teachers, by the students, and by the institution. So today I accept this award on behalf of all these people, and I have many of my students now sitting in the hall here. I'm very happy to be saying this in front of them. They are equally responsible. This is equally their award as it is mine. Thank you very much. Thank you. My thanks to IIA again and to the Minister KTR. He just reminded me I share his name, KTR. It was nice to see on the stage a minister with the same initials. So thank you all for giving me this award. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your motivating thoughts. We would like to invite our chief guest of the evening, Shri KTR Garu, Shri Kalvakuntla Tarakarama Garu, as we know him, the Cabinet Minister for IT, Engineering and Construction, Municipal Administration and Urban Development, Industries and Commerce Departments. Sir is a legislator from the Sirsila Assembly constituency and is a graduate in business studies and holds a master's degree from Baruch College, City University of New York.
Shri K.T. Ramarao Garu took charge of the Municipal Administration and Urban Development, Industry and Commerce, Minings and NRI Affair Departments, unflinching resolve, commitment and inclination to fight for the welfare and development of the state made Shri K.T. Ramarao Garu work with a wide spectrum of industry and political leaders in India and abroad. He has provided visionary leadership and puts in relentless efforts in reimagining and reorienting the departments he was assigned.
We would now like to extend our gratitude to Shri KTR Garu by honoring him. May I now request on the stage Mr. Sunil Saraf, representing our event partner Radha TMT, to do the honors. Mr. Sunil Saraf is an accomplished industrialist who transformed Radha Smelters into a leading steel construction and real estate conglomerate. Leads from the front as the company's chairman. It's an absolute pleasure to have him today with us.
We now have a photo session with the Honorable Minister. We request the following dignitaries to please move towards the stage. Ex-Chairman Architect Gururaj Raju Garu, Ex-Vice Chairman Architect Narsimhan Garu. May I also now request the Vice Chairman of the host chapter, the Secretary, the Treasurers, the Office Bearers, all of Office Bearers, the EC members to join us as well. From Telangana chapter to join us as well, please.
We now request Architect Sridhar Gopishetty Garu, Architect C.R. Raju Garu to give our Honorary Minister the letter. But before that, we would love to hear from Mr. KTR. We are waiting for your address, sir. Please.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Rishabh. Thank you, Gayatri. I thought, in fact, I could skip my speech because, they kind of made me go right to the photo op. But just a few words. Firstly, compliments to the entire team of IIA, the Indian Institute of Architects. Raju Garu, thank you for bringing this to Hyderabad, to the NatCon to Hyderabad. Thank you. Mr. Gopi Shetty and Mr. Dhoni, thank you, sir. To the entire team of office bearers, my compliments on making the wisest choice of choosing my city, Hyderabad. Thank you. Thank you for all those people who have flown in from various parts of the country. Mr. Berry and my namesake, KTR Garu. Congratulations on receiving, the awards. My compliments to the both of you. In fact, very often, when I make an investment pitch, when I try and play out the strengths of my city, my state, I keep telling a lot of potential investors that Hyderabad and Telangana is that place where biology meets technology, where data sciences, kind of marries life sciences. That's my usual pitch. So when I came here and when I was listening to all those speeches and nice citations, especially that of Mr. Sirish Berry, I was inquiring with Mr. Raju, because sorry sir, but मैंने आपका uru नहीं देखा, मैंने आपका wanderings and ponderings नहीं पढ़ा. I know. So I was wondering as to what makes this gentleman special. So when Mr. Raju showed me a bunch of pictures, a building that you've designed in Attapur, very, very, it is in Attapur in Hyderabad, I know. I was thinking, this whole analogy of biology meeting technology, this whole analogy of data sciences marrying life sciences, etc. A friend of mine recently, I think about a couple of months ago, was philosophizing and give me some gyan. He was saying there are only two kinds of people in the world. There are the artists and then there are the scientists. So I was wondering, and I asked Mr. Raju, I said, so where do architects fall? And then I realized it was a stupid question, because if you think about it, all of you gentlemen and ladies who have chosen this brilliant profession, your heart beats for art, but your mind obviously has to work with the science that goes, with all the inanimate cement, concrete, the wood and everything else. So I chose to differ with my friend, who said there are only two kinds of people, artists and scientists. I think there is a third kind. That is the architect, where the art meets the science. I think that's what you guys define. And you guys have to pay me for that, by the way. You guys have to pay me. IIA has to pay me for saying that. Before I, kind of say a few words about my city, my state, and, in terms of architecture, what do we have to offer for you, gentlemen and ladies? Let me quickly, since many of you are from outside of the state, let me quickly also bring you up to speed on what's going on in the newest, the youngest state of India, that is Telangana. This state, Telangana, was formed exactly 8 years ago, in June 2014. It was formed amidst a lot of apprehension, amidst a lot of doubts, amidst a lot of genuine concern, in fact, if I may add, about what would happen to the city, what would happen to the ethos, the culture, the social fabric. Would this government be discriminatory? Would this government actually, work in the lines of, parochialism, etc., etc. But let me share with you, in the initial days, I used to have a tough time selling my state, telling people, that I represent Telangana. Because Telangana is a name that doesn't easily roll, off your tongue. But today, after 8 years, I can tell you with a lot of pride, with a lot of happiness, the state has done exceedingly well, and we continue to grow and continue to grow at a very, very good pace. And in spite, and this is all despite of COVID, despite of demonetization, despite of a bunch of other things. Telangana as a state, when it was formed, just to give you a few numbers, let me appeal to the scientist side of your brain, to the architects. In 2014, the per capita income of Telangana was about 1,24,000 rupees. Today, 7 years later, the per capita income of Telangana has risen to 2,78,000 rupees, a whopping 128% plus growth. The GSDP, typically countries are measured on GDP growth, states are measured on GSDP, the gross state domestic product. The GSDP of Telangana back in 2014 was 5,06,000 crores. Today, the GSDP of Telangana is 11.55 lakh crores. And in case you're wondering, in case you're beginning to doubt, because you hear way too many politicians, reel out numbers, you kind of tend to wonder if they're actually factually correct. My humble request to all of you, please look up the Reserve Bank of India's Handbook of Statistics released in October 2021, which has clearly said that Telangana, while it's the 11th largest state in Indian Union geographically, while it is the 12th largest state in Indian Union population-wise, we are the 4th largest contributor to India's economy. That's the progress Telangana has made over the last 7 years. As a state, we are only 2.5% of the country in terms of population. Out of the 138 crore people, we are hardly 4 crores. We are only 2.5%. But our contribution to GDP is 5%. Literally, we are punching double our weight. Now that is the growth of Telangana. And the chief architect who is behind this brilliant story in the last 7 years is none other than our Honorable Chief Minister, Shri KTR Garu, who has not only led the movement, not only led the agitation for separate statehood, but continues to lead this state in a holistic and an all-round development. Telangana is that unique state where holistic really means holistic and integrated. We have our IT exports growing. Our IT exports back in 2014 were 57,000 crore rupees. As of last year, May, in fact, as of this time last year, the IT exports have risen to 1,45,000 crores. So IT exports have grown. Likewise, Telangana agriculture has also expanded. In fact, Telangana's agriculture activity has expanded by about 119%. Our agriculture's contribution to the GSDP has grown from 16 to 21%. I can go on. Telangana is that state where urban development and rural development go hand in hand. Telangana is that state where industrialization is happening rapidly. At the same time, we also have environment and green cover expanding by almost 7.7% in the last 7 years. A 240 crore plantation drive, hitherto, unwitnessed, never been done in India. And it's the 3rd largest effort in human history. It's been done by the government of Telangana under a program, under a special caption called as Harita Haram, which literally means a green necklace for Mother Earth, and it has been tremendously successful. So Telangana is that state where you have all of these, typically juxtaposed, contrasting points of view going hand in hand. Let me also quickly share with you that we are a very urban state. In fact, Telangana, as we speak, is more than 46% urban. Now, I am a firm believer that with rapid urbanization, suburbanization, we will be, a predominantly urban state in the next 5 to 7 years. You'll have majority of Telangana actually living in urban areas and minority living in rural areas. Now, what does it mean for us? I loved what, Mr. KT Ravindran had said. He said, if you look at a city, and I really loved it because I'm the urban development minister, I have to grapple with this every day. If you think about a city as an artifact, it's by far the most complex artifact the human has created, is what you said. And I completely echo your sentiments. I've been a minister for 6 years. The city has been growing. It's a good story. Of course, it's a good problem to have that you have more and more investments coming in, more and more people flocking to your state. But at the same time, if you don't keep up in terms of rapid pace, of infrastructure creation, if you don't keep up with how the city is expanding, the growth of city, then you are in for serious trouble. And I think that is the challenge that most of the world cities today face. That is the challenge that most Indian cities today also face. The fact also is, while Mahatma Gandhi may have said that India lives in its villages, which is a fact, 70% of India still does live in its villages, it is also a fact that India is run by its cities and towns. Our cities and towns are our economic engines, and we cannot afford to actually destroy them by way of not creating enough infrastructure, by way of not catering to the much needed urban needs of the citizens there. For instance, if you look at the city of Hyderabad, while we continue to be ranked right up there, Mercer, an agency that rates cities on livability index, continues to rate Hyderabad very, very high. In fact, among all Indian cities, from 2015 until 2020, the last 2 years they haven't done the rankings because of COVID. From 2015 until 2020, 5 consecutive years, Hyderabad has been rated as the city with the best livability among Indian cities. So we're relatively better. We are relatively better than Bombay. We are relatively better than Bangalore for sure. We are relatively better than Delhi. We are relatively better than many other Indian cities. For those of my friends who are from outside of Hyderabad, when I say this, you might not like it, but we are certainly the city to aspire to beat among all Indian cities. Because not only in quality of living, on purchasing power index, on safety index, on healthcare index, on cost of living index, quality of living index, property price to income ratio index, traffic commute time index, all of these parameters, we are actually ranked very high by Mercer and many other agencies. Hyderabad, in fact, our dream, our ambition. When you say something like what I'm about to say, I might look like a fool and I might even be laughed at, scoffed at. In fact, let me just take a slight detour. One of the things that always intrigued me about architects, was I think my first sort of exposure to the world of architecture, to the world of architects rather, was the book Fountainhead. I think like many of you, I read it during my college days. I didn't have any architect friends then. I didn't even have my friend Mahesh, who's sitting there, who had joined architecture at a much later stage. But when I read the book, I was intrigued. I was intrigued by the persona of Howard Roark, because he's an interesting individual, interesting personality. That got me to think. That got me, to basically question, whether you conform to the stereotype, whether you conform to the existential realities of the world, or would you rather want to do something truly different and truly path-breaking? I think that's the dilemma any urban designer, any urban development minister, any urban development bureaucrat who is involved in this process has on a day-to-day basis. Because, and the reason why I mention this is because city is growing. And I know this city is important for my state, for this country, because the top 8 to top 10 cities of our country literally run our nation. Bombay, Delhi, Hyderabad, Bangalore, and a few others. These are the cities that really drive the nation, whether we like it or not. And we have to make sure that these cities actually continue to perform, continue to do well. Otherwise, the economy, in fact, will tank. We know that. Now, the question we have, when we aspire and when we dream to be a global city, a lot of times my political opponents keep laughing at us, keep scoffing, saying, you guys are, dreaming a bit too much, it's a far-fetched imagination, etc. But I think unless you dream big, unless you think big, unless you think of the impossible, unless you dream of the impossible, you cannot aspire, you cannot actually become a world-class city. Therefore, we have done a few things. I won't say we have done a lot of things, but we've done a few things in terms of innovating our policy, in terms of innovation in our design, in terms of innovation in our practices and how we govern. What am I talking about? We've come out with 2 very interesting policies. The first policy we came out with in the government of Telangana, in fact, it's a legislation, an act of the legislature, back in 2014, was a policy called as the TS-IPAS, the Telangana State Industrial Project Approval Self-Certification System. Any investor who would like to invest in my state can self-certify himself or herself as being in compliance with the law of the land and can start the construction of their factory or their office on day one without any clearance from the government or the municipality or the Gram Panchayati. We have done this 7 years ago, in November 2014. And what we also offer by way of TS-IPAS is, we only seek that you submit an application online to us because we need to know for regulatory purposes who is doing what in my state. Once we receive your application, after you have started the construction or you haven't, we receive an application online through the TS-IPAS portal. We promise by statute to give all clearances in 15 days. And if we don't deliver on the 15-day window, on the 16th day, it's a deemed approval. No Indian state will tell you this. And also on the 16th day, by statute, by legislation, I am empowered to penalize that bureaucrat who's held up your file for longer than 15 days. Now, no Indian state will tell you this either. The reason why I am mentioning the Industrial Project Approval Self-Certification System, the TS-IPAS, is because after the successful implementation of TS-IPAS, we gave more than 19,000 clearances, and we have been able to attract more than 2.3 lakh crores of investment over the last 7 years, and we continue to rank very highly on the 1, 2, 3s of ease of doing business rankings by Government of India. We have done very well through this system. We've been able to contain corruption. I won't say we've been able to eradicate it, but we've been able to contain it to a large extent. We've been able to create a system which is process-driven, not person-driven, which is institutionalized as opposed to individualized. Then we started thinking. Our Honorable Chief Minister had challenged us. He said, as Municipal Minister, as Urban Development Minister, why don't you replicate the same thing that you've done in Industries Department through TS-IPAS? Why don't you create a similar system for building project approval permissions? So then came the TS-BPAS. We approved it in 2020. Telangana State Building Project Approval Self-Certification System. In Telangana, if you have a land which is less than 600 square yards, you do not need a clearance from the government. You do not need a building approval from the government. You can actually go ahead, start construction by announcing, by self-certifying that I am going to be in compliance with the building plans and building rules that have been laid down by the government. The other thing I will also tell you, we've also introduced something very, very transformative, which is revolutionary. We have promised all clearances for anything above 600 in 21 days, including layouts. If you don't get a clearance from us in 21 days, it's a deemed approval again on the 22nd day. So this is the sort of unique policy making that has really helped the construction industry. I see representatives of the CREDI, the TREDA, the IGBC, they can vouch for it. And Hyderabad continues to grow. In fact, I have a number of statistics that I can share with you. Hyderabad has been the best performing residential market in 2021 with growth in sales by 142% year on year to 24,312 units. Hyderabad is the only city among 8 Indian cities, 8 Indian metros, as per the study done by Knight Frank, which has not had a single year of price decline since 2014. Hyderabad, in fact, as per ANAROC report, remains the most affordable residential market among the top 7 metros with an average rate of 4,450 per square feet. As per Cushman and Wakefield report, Hyderabad has topped the leasing in IT and ITES space by grabbing 36% of the total lease among metro cities. I can go on and on about how well the city has done because of the enabling government policies, reduction in corruption, affordability, quality of living, and a bunch of other things. But I'll not bore you with that. I can tell you a couple of things about, what the city also has to offer. Because if you are familiar with the city of Hyderabad, which I'm sure most of you here are, it is a city that combines the old world charm because it's a 430 plus year old city. It's a city that combines the old world charm and a new age vibrancy. If you go to the financial district or the knowledge city, in the night, you actually feel like it's a mini Singapore. And I'm not just saying this because I've had so many of my friends tell me that you're not marketing your city enough. You're not showcasing it to the investors enough. I've had many people tell me that. It's a blend of, the old world charm, like I said, and the new age vibrancy. It's also a blend of a lot of cultures. It's a blend of history, culture, heritage. Madhu Watery, a renowned architect, in her book, A Guide to the Heritage of Hyderabad, wrote, she writes, I quote, "The architecture of any region is mainly the result of the culture and the geography of that region. Over a period of time, as people move from one place to another to fulfill their physical and spiritual needs, their culture travels with them, and so does its architecture. So does the architecture. Thus, cities which were the center of power become melting pots of different cultures and different types of architecture. Hyderabad is one fine example of such a city with its remarkable mix of different cultures and architectural styles." End quote. The city's blended architecture has produced some of the world-renowned buildings and structures, right from the Kakatiyas, who've built several thousands of temples and dug mammoth tanks and lakes, to the Qutub Shahi rulers who have laid foundations to the modern-day Hyderabad. Many historians say that Hyderabad city was constructed on a grid plan inspired by the city of Isfahan, considered as a heaven on earth. Interestingly, Hyderabad's twin, the Secunderabad city, has modern English town architecture, as it was home to a military cantonment of the British. Dr. M.A. Naeem, a noted historian from Hyderabad, in his well-researched book, The Splendor of Hyderabad, recounts that there are 20 distinct architectural styles in Hyderabad city itself, starting from the Hindu temple architecture to Indo-Egyptian. During the rule of Nizams, a distinct local architectural style called Osmanian has evolved here locally. The High Court building here, Osmania General Hospital, Mozam Zahi Market, the Arts College of Osmania University, the State Archaeological Museum, the State Central Library are some of the standing examples of this great architectural style. The city of Hyderabad and also the state of Telangana have some of the most exquisite pieces of architecture, starting from stepwells to palaces, from bridges to tombs. In fact, I know Mr. Yashwant Ramamurthy, a renowned architect from the city, also has been doing a lot of amazing work on the stepwells and the revival of them. My compliments to him and his team as well. One of the most important aspects, important facets of the statehood movement for Telangana was the cultural renaissance. So as soon as the Telangana state was formed, we took up some major initiatives to preserve, promote, and revive our historic structures. In the last 8 years, the state government has taken up and completed renovation and rejuvenation of several architectural wonders in the state. The most prestigious of these include the Mozam Zahi Market renovation project. Some part of Charminar pedestrianization project has been completed. Some of it has to be completed. The urban rejuvenation and renovation of Tank Bund, the Qutub Shahi tombs renovation, clock towers at Mahbub Chowk and Shah Ali Banda, stepwells at Gachi Bauli, Bansilal Pet, Baram Bavi, Badi Bauli, Lingoji Gudam, and also Bapu Ghat, Metla Bavi at Warangal, Venkatram Bavi at Narayanpet, and several other stepwells were revived. Kali Kaman and Maulali Kaman are also being restored. Sustained efforts of the state government to get the coveted UNESCO World Heritage status to our historical sites have fructified just last year. One of the greatest architectural marvels of the Kakatiya era, the Ramappa Temple, has received the UNESCO World Heritage Sites tag, which is a matter of great pride for all of us. Located in the village of Palampet, approximately 200 kilometers northeast of Hyderabad, this Shiva temple was built during the Kakatiya period under the rulers Rudradeva and Racharla Rudra. The fact that the lightweight porous bricks or floating bricks were manufactured during the Kakatiya period speaks volumes about their engineering and architectural prowess. As I mentioned earlier, the city has transformed into a bustling metropolis, and like any other dimension of the city, even architecture is undergoing rapid transformation. The western part of the city today looks very similar to the downtown of any major city in the first world. High-rise buildings with glass facades dot the IT corridor skyline today. While private developers choose their own architectural and design components, we from the government of Telangana are ensuring that our new buildings and other structures built by the government have both modern and traditional architectural elements. We are ensuring that while the structures that we build are aesthetically appealing, they are also energy efficient and follow the modern green building norms too. If you look at our T-Hub Phase 2 building, you can look at our image tower which is upcoming. You can also look at our police command control center, which is very, very unique again. And I can go on. There's a huge list of names that the government itself has invested in, which have this kind of an appeal. The new Secretariat building, which the government of Telangana is currently building, also depicts, the design also depicts, the Deccan Kakatiya architecture and culture expressing Telangana's quintessence. It follows all the Indian Green Building Council norms, meets the stipulations of fire safety, disaster management, and other mandatory regulations. The Durgam Cheruvu cable bridge happens to be India's longest extra-dose cable-stayed bridge. When our engineers wanted to build a normal bridge, concrete bridge, on that iconic lake, we deliberately, intentionally decided to build an iconic bridge that will become a symbol for New Hyderabad. Today, this bridge has become a huge attraction to both locals and some tourists as well. We're also incorporating several traditional Indian and Western design concepts in the proposed 15 new bridges that are coming up on River Musi. The 400-plus-year-old city of Hyderabad, with its unique style of architecture, is a wonderful source of remarkable stories and legend. I wish that the delegates attending this 3-day conference will have a meaningful discussion resulting in fruitful outcomes. I also hope and wish that you get to spend some time in my city, actually going out, looking at all the structures that I've just mentioned, also enjoying the famous Hyderabadi biryani. And I also hope that you will be charmed by the architecture and the unique character of my city. Please don't forget to pass on your suggestions, feedback, and please also don't forget to collaborate with us and partner with us, because we are a city that is open to designers, that is open to ideas. We are a city that is open to innovation. We are setting up an urban center of excellence. In fact, the Indian Institute of Architects chapter, Hyderabad chapter, Telangana chapter, has asked me for a piece of land, to set up their own campus. I am offering it to them on the Center for Urban Excellence, on the same location, so that we can co-locate, and co-invent and partner in the growth story. Another thing I will also point out, there's plenty of other opportunities to collaborate and partner with the government of Telangana, and I request the local chapter to meet with us so that we can actually take these discussions forward. Once again, thank you very much for having me. Jai Telangana, Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir, for gracing us with your presence. Your support to the architectural fraternity has been of great significance.
We would now like to extend our gratitude to Sri KTR Garu by honoring him. May I now request the President of the IIA, Architect C.R. Raju Garu, to do the honors. Sir, please.
Minister Sri KTR Ramarao sir, respected MLC Bhanu Prasad sir, IA members, dignitaries, members of the press and media present here today for the IA NatCon Arch Utsav, the largest annual convention of Indian architects. Architecture is a magical blend of aesthetics, functionality and artistry, a fine indicator of how we see the world and how the world sees us. It is indeed a great pleasure and joy to see the best of the industry under one roof here. Telangana state, Hyderabad city, and the entire real estate sector here have seen a rapid growth in the last decade. The Durgam Cheruvu Bridge, the regional ring road, our new secretariat, and the planned urbanization of our city are some excellent examples that showcase how the people of Telangana are moving forward towards the betterment of their lives in every possible way. This wouldn't have been possible without our visionary and dynamic Chief Minister Shri KCR Garu and our Honorable Minister Shri KTR Garu sir. I still remember, sir, Minister sir, in the year 2014, before the swearing-in ceremony, I asked sir, any state's growth is measured by the real estate development. And everybody knows from 2008 to 2014, Hyderabad was totally dull. Sir vividly told me, within a couple of years, you'll see the growth of what Hyderabad is. Sir, had I heeded to your advice, I would have amassed a lot of wealth, but... Yes, sir. The focus of the current government on development of the infrastructure is unprecedented. India has now become the second largest steel producer in the world, ahead of both America and Japan. This is indeed a matter of pride for all of us. India's steel consumption at approximately 80 kgs per capita is still one of the lowest in the world and much lower than even the world average of 250 kgs. This suggests that the demand for the steel can grow tremendously from here on over the next 10 to 20 years. 1 lakh crore of investment is expected to be deployed in the infrastructure sector in the next 5 years. So what is also being observed is that the Indian customer in the construction industry is becoming more and more quality conscious, and the demand of higher quality TMT bars is increasing on account of high-rise construction in urban cities and high-quality infrastructure development requirements. More and more structural engineers are recommending higher strength and higher ductility TMT bars for such complex construction projects. Sir, we, the Radha Group, are one of the South India's largest steel manufacturing company with a legacy of over 65 years, and we are in the state of Telangana. We are an end-to-end fully integrated manufacturer with an automated production process as well as the latest state-of-the-art technologies such as ladle refining furnace. Our latest innovation is Radha 550D LRF TMT, South India's first infrastructure steel approved use by the critical infra projects and high-rise buildings. Our existing capacity we are increasing from 0.4 million tons to 1 million ton by the year 2025. Herein I would like to state that our products are approved by various government departments like NHAI, Irrigation Department of Telangana, R&D, GHMC, DHEL. And I am also very proud to state that even in the new secretariat, the steel of Radha TMT was used. It is our promise to the stalwarts of the construction industry that we will work tirelessly to continue to innovate and bring world-class products to every project we adhere to. I commend IA Telangana chapter for organizing such an incredible learning and networking event for the architectural fraternity. My special thanks to Mr. Sridhar of Team 1 India, Team 1, and the Hyderabad architects for designing such a great architectural work.